Hello everyone, Stu Hartenstein here with 3 Up, 3 Down. It's been a great few weeks for us here on the show as we've been able to catch up with the 2021 Little League Baseball and Little League Softball umpires here in our last 4 episodes. Each of our umpires were fantastic. They were open and willing to share, and they gave us some really good nuggets to think about. They stimulated our thinking, and they gave us all some very valuable reminders of what it takes to be successful on the diamonds. We hope you guys enjoyed them as much as we did. But this Sunday on 3 Up, 3 Down, we'll start to apply a lot of the things that we've reflected upon over the last 4 and 5 weeks. And as we think about those reflections from 2021, now we want to go ahead and apply those to what exactly we're going to want to see out of ourselves come 2022. So our goal then is to apply those reflections to our plans for 2022 to help you guys create then your own individualized improvement plans based upon the modern trends in umpiring, which we'll share about here in just a second, and then also some modern challenges that we're all going to face as well. So we hope you can join us here this Sunday here coming up for our next kind of shift here in our thinking as we reflect on 2021. Now, many of you guys may be wondering what exactly are those modern trends and challenges in umpiring. I want to give you a sneak peek of what we'll go ahead and talk about as we think about our reflections on 2021 and start to apply that then to our 2022 seasons. Now, the bigger question that we're going to try and address on Sunday is what exactly do you want to get better at in 2022? And we want to come up then with a diligent, a mindful list to apply the lessons from what we learned in 2021 to our 2022 seasons and give us then something on paper, realistically, to go ahead and follow and plan out our 2022. Now, one of the trends that we definitely saw in 2021 was many umpires taking advantage of opportunity to get back on the diamond and build habits by taking advantage of the routine play. So that was one of the first trends that we saw a lot of people be successful at. And here we have an umpire on the line for fair foul, a very simple task here. Again, another umpire on the line here for fair fouls. We see him down there to go ahead and make sure that we are in position for very close plays. And that habit of getting on the line for fair foul inevitably sets ourselves up then for success when things, as we saw in that last clip, go ahead and get a little thick. So when we have to make our money, we rely back on those habits, and building those habits by taking advantage of those routine plays was one of the major trends. Now, one of those major habits that we often talk about is proper use of eyes. And as we see here, proper use of eyes is what gives us proper timing. We've said it several times on the show. If someone has ever told you that your timing is too quick, what they should tell you is that you're not using your eyes properly. And we've gone through a variety of different ways to use your eyes properly. Here's one on a force play at first base. You'll see that this umpire goes to confirm firm and secure possession before going into signaling his out call, and that gives him proper timing on this play. Same is true here with this one. Another ground ball on this play. Again, great job by this umpire to use his eyes properly, see the ball on the ground, process the play, and use those habits that we build on fundamental plays or routine plays to transfer on over. They can also be applied to tag plays. Here we have one from the Little League Softball World Series, a play at third base. This umpire gets a tag play, gets into position here for it, and as you can see here, very good use of eyes to watch the complete duration of this play. This runner comes off the base, and then as this umpire sees the runner come off the base, he then confirms firm and secure possession before going into his out call. Again, a huge product then of that number one fundamental here, taking advantage of the routine plays, specifically then by using your eyes properly. We also talked about getting on the line for fair foul. We've talked about chest to ball and things like that as well. Another major trend that we saw in 2021 umpires improve upon is their wedge progression in two areas. Number one, staying close to play, and then secondly, as the tag play develops, not only are we going to stay close as this umpire does here, but we're going to go ahead and try and find the window in between the runner and the fielder. That way we have an unobstructed view of the tag attempt. And this umpire does a great job of demonstrating this. He is, like we see here, he starts close. Then as you can see in the freeze frame and in the replay, he gets into the window in that space between then the runner and the fielder, so he has an unobstructed view of the tag attempt of this runner coming home. And that was a major fundamental that we definitely saw play out, a major trend that we saw play out in 2021. Another great example here of this one, you can see this umpire continue to move as the play develops. He stayed close, and then he continues to adjust ever so slightly to stay in the window, that space between the runner and the fielder at the point of the tag attempt. And those two trends in wedge progression, staying close and staying in the window, something that we definitely saw play out and highlighted here as we see at the Little League World Series in these two plays at the plate. Now, this not only applies to plays at the plate, it also applies to plays on the bases. Here, this umpire doesn't go to a predetermined spot. He rather than is no longer ball-based umpiring, reads off the fielder, and then as we can see here, this allows him to continue to use the fundamentals of wedge progression. And again, number one, stay close. Secondly, adjust off the fielder. And then thirdly, as we see here, stay in the window, our second major trend here that we kind of saw here play out in 2021. And one of the other newer trends that we'll definitely see play out and talk a little bit about and dive into just at the surface level this Sunday is rethinking angle distance plays at first base, for force plays at first base. Now, we'll dive into this a little bit more after the first of the year, but one thing that I've noted and that many people have noted in the playoffs is that as we go ahead and take a look at this umpire's positioning, the 90-degree angle that we have all once been taught has kind of started to go by the wayside, if you will, as more umpires either continue to play with that 90-degree angle or in this case kind of take a wider angle to 120 degrees. And the question then becomes, why might this trend be developing here in umpiring? And that's one thing that we want to dive into and expose you to is these trends so that we're aware of them. And that way, as we craft and develop our thoughts for getting better in 2022, we have a prescription or an idea of what exactly to go back off of. So rethinking our positioning for angle distance plays, force plays at first base, another modern trend, one of the third trends that we'll go ahead and dive into and talk about as we reflect back on 2021 and then think ahead to 2022 to answer that question, what exactly do we want to get better at in 2022. Now, not only are there trends that we'll discuss, we'll also go ahead and discuss the challenges faced ahead of us. And there are a few challenges here that we'll talk about, one of which is calling the modern strike zone, which is definitely becoming more challenging because no longer are catchers then kind of sticking the strikes and framing the balls, but rather the trend now is to go ahead and drag every single pitch in the strike zone. We've seen this play out too. This then heightens the ability of umpires then to use their eyes properly to track the ball. So in a freeze frame right here, we can see where this catcher is going to receive the ball and then ultimately where he drags it up to. And this is then really going to challenge us as we go ahead and see and perceive the strike zone. Again, see where this catcher catches it, see where he drags it out to. Again, this really challenges then our ability to track the pitch and essentially plot it on this imaginary box here as we go ahead and take a look at some of the modern challenges that are facing umpires in 2022. Another good example here, this catcher catches it at the boundary of the strike zone, and then take a look where he drags it off to. Again, challenging our tracking and our proper use of eyes, and even our timing as umpires here in calling the modern strike zone. That'll be another thing that we'll talk about as we build our individualized plans for 2022. Second one is this whole idea of balancing this need to be stubborn versus this need to be approachable. And one of the guys that I think is really, really excellent at handling situations is Tom Hallion. Obviously, he kind of had that discrepancy in this series, the White Sox and the Houston series, on that kind of reverse runner's lane interference that doesn't exist. There's been a lot of stuff played out by that one here, but he does a great job, does Tom Hallion, of handling situations and balancing that line of number one being stubborn with secondly being approachable. And that's a concept that comes out of Brian DeBrouwer and United Umpires that we'll continue to dive into as I continue to learn more and try and share that here with us too. Just that need to be stubborn versus the need to be approachable in different situations, whether it be handling coaches, handling the strike zone, or whatever the case may be. Now, the last thing that we'll dive into on Sunday is this idea of retrospective thinking, and this requires us to be very reflective and very mindful of where we are and where we want to go as umpires here. And as many of us know, the pandemic has given us access to a wide variety of information. Some of us are probably even on information overload. Well, what exactly do we do with that information? What's next? How do we classify it? How do we organize it? How do we put it into practice? And what we want to do is offer you some tangible templates, something that you can literally take away from and then ultimately apply that then here to what exactly you're going to see from us on 3 Up, 3 Down. So we'll give you some templates to create a focused, individualized improvement plan for intentional self-growth in 2022. That is our major goal. And we hope then that you are able to join us this Sunday, October 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern, as you see here on the screen, as we continue to reflect upon the lessons learned from 2021 in this whole idea of applying modern trends and the challenges in umpiring to create our own individualized improvement plans as we look to 2022. We hope you can join us here later this week on Sunday at 8 p.m. If not, we'll go ahead and replay it as normal. We appreciate everybody's participation and interest in the program, and we look forward to diving into this last two segments here of applying what we've learned from 2021 to focusing that on where we want to go to in 2022. Have a great rest of your week. We hope to see you on Sunday. Thanks, everyone.